And Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says that an agreement has been reached with Russia and Ukraine to extend the Black Sea grain deal. The agreement will be extended for 2 months. Ukraine is a major global exporter of grain. The export agreement, brokered by the UN and Turkey last July, has allowed Ukraine to transport millions of tons of food despite the ongoing conflict. It was agreed to help tackle a global food crisis after access to Ukraine's ports in the Black Sea was blocked by Russian warships following the invasion February 2022. Russia and Ukraine have both claimed to have made military advances against each other, with Russia saying its forces destroyed a Patriot missile defense system in Kyiv and Ukraine saying its troops repelled Russian attacks on multiple fronts. Russian Defense Ministry said the Russian military had used long-range, high-precision weapons to launch strikes targeting deployment points of Ukraine forces and warehouses storing ammunition, weapons and other equipment provided by Western allies. According to the ministry, Russian air defense forces intercepted missiles fired by the HIMARS multiple rocket launching systems, as well as multiple HARM anti-radiation missiles and Storm Shadow cruise missiles. Russia's counterattacks also include shooting down of an Su-24 fighter jet and Su-25 fighter jet of Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukrainian Ministry of Defense says fighting continued unabated in the east as Ukrainian armed forces repelled dozens of Russian attacks in the past 24 hours in Krasny, Lyman and Bakhmut directions. It adds that the Ukrainian Air Force and rocket artillery units carried out strikes on a series of targets, including Russian military personnel and equipment concentration areas, anti-missile systems, ammunition depots, radio equipment, and seized control of a fuel depot. Ukrainian soldiers say 4 Rotor drones sold over the counter for $300 can be deadly enough to destroy Russian tanks once they have been modified to carry explosives. Speaking in the central eastern region of Dnipropetrovsk, a soldier who goes by the call sign of Cockroach said, "We have destroyed enemy tanks, heavy military equipment, personnel as a very effective gadget." The soldier fights for Ukraine's 35th Marine Brigade, which modifies commercially available drones and uses them to attack Russian forces who occupy swaths of Ukraine's east and south. Drones have been used extensively by both Moscow and Kyiv's forces since Russia's launch of the full-scale invasion last year. Ukraine has said it is expanding its drone program for both reconnaissance and attacking enemy targets in order to narrow the gap between its military capabilities and those of Russia. The U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, published a video on its official YouTube channel encouraging Russians to make contact via a secure internet channel. The short video in Russian was accompanied by a text saying the agency wanted to hear from military officers, intelligence specialists, diplomats, scientists, and people with information about Russia's economy and its leadership. During the Soviet era, talking in whispers was the only possible way to criticize the government. And now, published nearly 15 months into Moscow's war with Ukraine, the video invites Russians to take a colossal risk. Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned his compatriots to be on their guard against traitors, and Parliament last month voted to increase the penalty for state treason from 20 years to life in prison. Meanwhile, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said he had not paid attention to the YouTube video encouraging Russians to make contact with the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, adding that he is convinced that Russian special services were tracking Western spy activity. Mr. Peskov said, in his words, "Our special services are monitoring the space in the necessary way." He added, "We all know perfectly well that the CIA and other Western intelligence services are not reducing their activity on the territory of our country." South Korea's presidential office says Ukraine's First Lady, Olena Zelenska, has met with South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol as a special presidential envoy. Zelenska, the wife of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, is visiting South Korea to participate in a media conference. In an interview with South Korea's Yonhap news agency, Mrs. Zelenska expressed willingness to invite Yoon to her country saying such a visit would be very supportive to Ukrainians. She also warned against the risk of war fatigue and called for more radical support for Ukraine to fight against Russia's aggression. South Korea, a major producer of artillery shells, has said it was not providing lethal weapons to Ukraine, citing its relations with Russia.